we all our planet's a bit like yours in the sense that as soon as somebody loses, the British, just like us three cyclones, start to sort of you feel sorry for them, and then you start to think, well, maybe they weren't all that bad after all. You know, like Mrs. May, as she sat on the back benches, she sort of started to recapture that bit of the allure. Quite contrary to when she was in Prime Minister, you thought, goodness, she doesn't got a clue what she's doing. So I have this great plan, which is to reform the House of Lords, which has got to go, with the House of Losers.
Now, with 38 hours down in our 100 hours of live election coverage that kicked off when polling stations closed at 10 p.m. on Thursday, and more political reaction now from one of the most and least recognisable faces on the election circuit. Intergalactic space warrior Count Binface joins me to mull over his glorious failure to unseat the then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in Richmond and Northallerton. Count, welcome.
Welcome, Hugo, to my world, and hello, Times Radio listeners. And I pick you up on glorious failure, Hugo.
Would you?
I got 308 actual votes.
I mean, that is sort of terrifying, isn't it?
So I'm cock-a-hoop.
Well, fair enough. What was it like at the count, as you, the man whose shoulders carried a can, stood next to the man who was about to carry the can? How was his mood?
Nice. I do appreciate those puns, I must say, on a Saturday morning when I've had very, very little sleep. It was great. It was a lovely atmosphere. I would compare it to Maidenhead in 2017. Much more jovial than Uxbridge in 2019. That was a strange one. But, there was a big wait for Rishi to turn up. I mean, everyone was standing around for a good hour when he should have been there. And maybe he was waiting in the wings. Maybe he was crying into his, luxury porridge. Who knows? But, I got to sort of talk to him briefly in the little room, the antechamber, where we get told the votes before we go up. Did you know that?
No.
We actually know the score when we go up on the stage as a spoiler. And so we had a little chat, but I'll be honest, he wasn't really in the mood because, he'd caused an asteroid to hit the Conservative Party and, well, it had all gone into a bit of a bin fire, hadn't it?
So no trash talk in that little room then?
No, I was I'm always very courteous and chivalrous. I mean, there was one prankster there trying to sort of unnerve him. But no, I simply, I wanted to sort of get on the level. So just like with Boris, I spoke to him in the only language I thought he'd understand, which was classical Latin. But with Rishi's a little bit more down to earth. So I thought, where's our common ground? And people might not know that I was a space roads scholar at Oxford University briefly. And so I said, we both had that kind of blue ribboned British education. And I speculated about which one had used it more productively, him or me. And I'm beginning to think it was me.
There's a lot of talk about how Rishi Sunak may well sort of now move to, for example, America. Do you think he might have more political success on another planet? You obviously know the other planets better than he does.
Well, I mean, we all our planet's a bit like yours in the sense that as soon as somebody loses, the British, just like us three cyclones, start to sort of you feel sorry for them, and then you start to think, well, maybe they weren't all that bad after all. You know, like Mrs. May, as she sat on the back benches, she sort of started to recapture that bit of the allure. Quite contrary to when she was in Prime Minister, you thought, goodness, she doesn't got a clue what she's doing. So I have this great plan, which is to reform the House of Lords, which has got to go, with the House of Losers. And you bring in all the people from your country who've got great experience of doing not very well, and so they can learn from their experiences and bring that to bear. So Rishi could go in, and people like Jimmy White could go in. He knows almost what it takes to be snooker champion, and he could help use that knowledge to help make Britain better for the future. So I think Rishi still has something to offer your planet in terms of what not to do.
See, I've often thought, Count Binface, that a lot of your policies are actually really rather sensible. What was your most popular on the doorsteps?
Well, I mean, obviously, Hugo, when you've got a 24-point manifesto like I do, you get all kinds of policies thrown back at you that they love. I mean, a lot of my local targeted policies went down very well. building a space bridge on North Allerton High Street to bypass the traffic from both level crossings. It's a nightmare, Hugo. Even 1 month in the constituency taught me that. But you can't get too far away from throwing British water bosses into British rivers to see how they like it, price capping croissants at £1.10 and bringing back CFAX. These are straightforward policies which, if Starmer's got a brain, he'll bring in his first 100 days.
I'm sure Reform is in favour of bringing back CFAX as well, but let's not press them on that. Look, what's your message?
Not really, because CFAX is an impartial news service and would tell people what they're actually like. So I doubt that.
Okay. What's your message to the new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, then? Will you be? Do you feel from within your bin any affinity with him? Is he a man or indeed a being after your own heart?
Well, I mean, to be fair to the guy, this is someone with a CV which a human would think, that's kind of what you want for the Prime Minister, right? He's worked in public service. He was knighted for public service as opposed to cronyism. And he's been a former director of public prosecutions, and he's there to help clean up politics. So, there are signs that he might be a good PM. I mean, there's also signs that when he says that this won't be a doctrine-led government, that he doesn't believe in anything and he'll do anything to stay in power. Time will tell. All I will say is I did offer him an ultimatum on results night, I reckon. So I did a little chat with Ian Hislop from my... I've got a podcast now, Hugo. Who hasn't got a podcast? Trash Talk, you can tune in. And Ian and I came up with this policy that he's got a week to exonerate all the postmasters and postmistresses and make Fujitsu give them 100 grand each. Now, come on. That's a simple win. It's an easy win. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be on his case. Yep. And if he wants more of that kind of wisdom, well, Hugo, here's a juicy plug. Sir Keir Starmer should do what all of you should do. In September and October, come and see me on my Victory Lap tour across Britain. Starting in Cardiff on September the 12th, countbinface.com/tour. Come and see the Count.
Excellent advice. A great pleasure to have you on, my lord, and congratulations on your glorious defeat in that case. Wonderful to speak to you.